Ever land your dream job only to have, well, the FBI show up at your door a week later?
Oh, that's got to be rough.
Yeah, talk about a bad week. That's the situation facing the new NYPD commissioner, Thomas Donlon. We're diving into this CNN article from September 22nd, 2024.
Okay, the one about the feds going after him.
That's the one. Feds execute search warrant on new NYPD commissioner just over a week after he was appointed. So we're going to unpack who Thomas Donlon is, why the feds are digging into his old files, and what this whole thing might mean for NYPD.
Sounds juicy. Let's do it.
All right, so first things first. Who is this Thomas Donlon? He's not exactly a newbie in law enforcement, are we talking about?
Definitely not, no.
The guy has one heck of a resume. We're talking former FBI official, New York's director of Homeland Security.
He was even head of the FBI NYPD Joint Terrorist Task Force, if I remember correctly.
You're right, he was. And it's that very resume that makes this whole situation so interesting, right? I mean, this isn't just some random new commissioner facing a little heat.
Not at all. This is someone who's been in the inner circle, someone who knows where the bodies are buried, so to speak.
Yeah.
You don't get to those positions without some serious experience. And let's be frank, making some powerful friends, ain't enemies along the way.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder, with all that experience, what exactly are the feds looking for? What could be so big that they'd go after someone like that?
Right. You don't just raid a former FBI official's home for parking tickets.
Okay, so let's get into the search warrant.
Yeah, what do we actually know about it?
Well, according to the CNN article, it went down on September 20th.
Okay.
And get this, they hit multiple locations, not just one, talking about Donlon's residences.
Interesting. So they were serious about this. What did they find?
Well, that's where it gets even weirder. Donlon's saying the stuff they took, it's from like 20 years ago, claims it has nothing to do with his current gig at NYPD.
2 decades. That's quite the blast from the past. What could be so important after all this time?
Right. And here's the other thing. CNN makes it a point to say that this search doesn't seem connected to those ongoing corruption investigations with City Hall.
So we're not talking about some side quest related to those scandals. This is its own thing entirely.
Exactly. It makes you think, what could be so huge about files from 20 years ago that they're just now coming to light? You know, why now?
Well, it really makes you think about what kind of information has that kind of shelf life. You know, what could still be relevant after all these years?
Right. What could be so big that they'd wait 2 decades to go after it?
It's got to be something with some serious weight to it, right?
Yeah.
We're talking potential evidence of something big enough to warrant this kind of investigation after all this time. And given Donlon's background, it's not like we're talking about a choir boy here.
Definitely not. So what are we thinking? Old intelligence reports? Financial records, maybe?
Could be. Could be. Things like financial crimes, they can have statutes of limitations that go way back.
Yeah.
Or maybe there's something in those old intelligence files, something that's suddenly relevant again.
So something from his past is coming back to haunt him.
Maybe. Or maybe it's something that never really went away.
This whole thing, it gets even more interesting when you realize this isn't an isolated incident, you know?
What do you mean?
Well, Donlon, he's the second NYPD commissioner in a row who's ended up under the microscope like this.
Oh, that's right. He replaced, what was his name?
Edward Caban.
Caban, right.
Stepped down just on September 12th.
Yeah, and wasn't he also facing some kind of federal investigation?
Yeah, something about his brother and some nightclubs. It wasn't ever totally clear, but definitely adds to the whole pattern, right?
Definitely. And it really makes you question what's going on over there at the NYPD. You know, I mean, this constant turnover, that kind of instability at the top, it can't be good.
It makes you wonder how they're supposed to function. How can they build any trust with all this hanging over their heads?
Exactly. It really erodes public confidence. And it impacts the officers, too, you know? Morale must be, well, let's just say, not great.
And then you've got Mayor Adams saying he's taking these investigations extremely seriously, but what does that even mean at this point?
Right. What choice does he have but to say that? But the reality is, this could be huge, right? If these investigations actually uncover some serious dirt, we could be talking major shakeup.
Criminal charges even.
Potentially. And think about the impact on the city, on the entire department. It would be massive.
So where does that leave us? I mean, this search warrant, maybe it's just some random thing from his past, a skeleton in the closet that decided to come out at the worst possible time.
Yeah, or maybe this is the tip of the iceberg, right? Maybe there's something much bigger going on here, something that goes way deeper than anyone's letting on.
Exactly. I guess only time will tell on that one.
Yeah.
But that's the thing about these deep dives, right? They get you thinking. So here's something for everyone to chew on. How much do we judge people on their pasts?
Especially when those pasts were decades ago.
Yeah. Exactly. It's a tough question, right? No easy answers. And I'm willing to bet we'll still be talking about it long after this whole Donlon thing plays out. Thanks for joining us for another deep dive.